All right, we're live.
Let's see.
How's it going, guys? All right, we're gonna do the usual and give it a few minutes so that people start coming on, and then we'll start going.
Yep, exactly.
All right.
Hey, Julio, what's going on?
Hey, how's it going? So for some reason, I don't see comments online on my stream here. Let me just take a quick look. All right. But all right. So, guys, welcome to the Newbie Real Estate Investors Podcast, guys. So in this episode, we're gonna go over sheriff sales, auctions, things like that. So I think the first thing we want to kind of establish is how do you get yourself into a sheriff sale? Meaning the seller, right? Or the person that's in trouble. So basically, they have about 3 months. Sorry, what was that comment? I couldn't see. My vision's bad.
He's just saying, hey, guys.
Okay, sorry. So basically, when someone owns a house, they are 3 months behind on their mortgage. The bank does what they call a list pendants. So it's basically telling the seller that, hey, we're getting ready to file foreclosure on your house. So usually within 3 months, you're going to get on the list pendants list. And then after that, it takes about 6 to 8 months if everything is in a perfect world for the bank. They basically go into foreclosure, right? So in New Jersey, it's a judicial foreclosure state. So in New Jersey, basically what that means is they have where they foreclose on you is usually at the sheriff's sale. So the sheriff's sales happen at the county level, and so each county has their own sheriff's sale where they're going to sell your property. All right, so that's the first thing we need to kind of establish, right? For those that don't know. So how do you go about going to the sheriff's sale, right? So before we even go to the sheriff's sale, we got to establish a few things, right? So basically, we have to do some research, right? Do you want to go into a little bit about the research that we kind of do?
Yeah, I mean, so if you're gonna go to a sheriff's sale, you need to know a few things about the property. Typically, you'll be able to see a list of the addresses online. You could type in on Google, like sheriff sales, Essex County, and it will pop up. And then you'll see all the properties that are going to auction for that week. Now, you might want to look pretty much every day, including the day of the auction, because a lot of the houses will get removed or get pushed back just because, again, this is a judicial state, so there's a lot of avenues for the homeowner to keep extending, like their sheriff's sale date. So that's one thing you want to make sure. So then when you go there, you're not looking for 123 Main Street and it's not there anymore. The next thing is, of course, looking at properties that you want to buy. Now, of course, it's going to have a way so you could see like Newark, Irvington, Belleville, Bloomfield, whatever. And that's when you go to the tax record, because you kind of want to know, hey, is this a 2-family? Is this a 3-family?
Yep.
Things like that. Believe it or not, on an online auction, one of my friends, he didn't notice it, but he thought he was buying a McMansion in Montclair, but turned out to be a 5-unit. But that's because the tax record showed that. He didn't notice it at the time, but it's probably some great information he should have known right from the start. regardless, he still got it, and he's doing great work on that property. But to fast forward, you want to see if it's a 2-family, a 3-family, size of the property. Like typically, like the square footage is shown there. So you want to get as much information as you can, so then you could run some, comparable sales for yourself.
Yep.
Now, of course, when you do that, of course, you go to either the MLS or have someone who has the MLS. You go within half a mile of that specific property. And again, based off the square footage, you could kind of get an idea of how many bedrooms it might have. Usually 12 to 14 is probably like 3 bedrooms. Under 1,000, it's probably like 2. So you got to think, through that. Now, of course, when you're doing the estimate for your rehab, you guess that everything needs to be worked.
Mhm.
You need new sheetrock, new plumbing, new electrical, new kitchens, new bathrooms. So, basically expect the worst, because if you do buy it, then you come there and you're like, oh, the kitchen's not bad. It's better than, oh crap, I didn't account for the kitchen. So,
Yeah.
so then you kind of get a better idea of what your ARV is based off of looking at the property. And so then you go there knowing roughly how high you can bid. Of course, the day of the auction, you might want to have a partner of yours or even yourself go take a look at the property. I'm not condoning breaking into properties. I'm just saying that you might want to go take a look, go there. If it's not vacant, and you think it might be tenant, some tenants are there.
Yeah, or even homeowner occupied.
Yeah, just knock. It doesn't hurt. Like, they might know that they're losing their house soon. Just talk to them. Maybe pay them a couple $100 to take a look. Who knows? And then if it's vacant, just I've from experience looked through windows so you could get a better idea of how much you think the work would be. And then, of course, as you're at the property, another thing you want to look at is if there's an oil tank. Usually there's there's like a big spout coming out of the ground somewhere.
Yeah, so there's usually 2. One's what they call air vent, and the other is the filler pipe. Usually they're anywhere from 1.5 inches to a 2-inch, like a steel pipe coming out of the ground. So you want to be aware of that and look for that. Sometimes if the unit is in the ground, meaning like if it's on the driveway, sometimes there's no fill pipe sticking out. So you have to kind of look out for it, because in my old house where I lived at, probably like 25 years ago, when I was a kid, right? Well, actually more than 25 years ago. Probably like 30 years ago. So in that house, we had the oil tank basically in the driveway or under the driveway, and there was no fill pipe sticking out from anywhere. So all they had was actually the pipe where you had the oil. All right, so you want to look out for that kind of stuff. Just kind of be aware. So that's something big that'll trip you up, if you're not aware, because with the sheriff's sale, in the end, you have to. So basically, the big difference between a sheriff's sale and a property you're gonna buy off the MLS is that there's no due diligence period. So basically, this is your due diligence period. So this is the most important part of the game.
Joe, before we get into that a little bit, David De Silva, he actually asked us a question. He was saying, what percentage of our portfolio is sheriff sale / auctions? To answer that question, I know, first off, I know Joey used to go to the auctions pretty much every week, maybe 2 years ago or so.
Yeah, 2018.
And he would wholesale properties from the auction. So I think you wholesale what, like at least one a month or something like that.
That's right.
So, you know, he has a lot of experience with wholesaling auction properties. I don't think you kept any of them.
No.
Right? No.
No.
So yeah. So, but I would say there is one I know Joey and I have that is technically an auction. It was a Hubzu property in Belleville. So there was a wholesaler that won the bid for the property. I think she had it at, what was it?
I think like 160.
Yeah, she had it at like 160 or something.
Yeah.
And then she wholesaled it to us for, what was it, like 190 or something?
Yeah,
Yeah, for 190.
Yeah.
So, you know, she made off with, after closing costs and everything, maybe like 20K or so. And, you know, we have a beautiful rental property that has been generating us about at least 1,000 a month or so,
Yep.
probably more.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I know that for sure is one of our properties that came from the auction. Besides that, I don't think we have another one.
No, I don't think so. But
Just looking at the questions.
yeah, no problem. But one thing I want to share with you guys is that there's a difference between, so there's a couple of different types of auctions, right? So that people are aware, because a lot of people kind of get it all mixed up and they kind of like jumble it all in. So there's the sheriff sale auctions, right? Then there's the like a tax lien auction where you don't pay your taxes, and that's another different type of auction. All right, so that's usually held by the city. And then there's also a city auction, which most recently Newark, city of Newark
Just
had.
had one.
Yeah, they just had their own auction. So that's completely different than the sheriff's sale. So the sheriff's sale is actually run by an auctioneer and done at the county level. Okay, and then we have REO auctions, which are properties that are actually already foreclosed on, and these are the banks actually auctioning off these properties. So these properties are where you're gonna find on like auction.com, Hubzu, Zoom, right? There's another one called Williams and Williams. So there's many different auction houses that do that. So just be aware of what you're actually buying, okay? So the next thing after basically you do all your research, right, is actually going to, so now we're talking about sheriff sales, okay? So I just want to be very specific.
Oh, I just do want to mention
Yeah.
about a lot of the, well, first, shout out to Bruce. Thanks for shouting me out. But as far as the auctions are concerned, there are online auctions that do allow you to go take a look at the property. So like Hubzu is definitely one of them.
Yeah.
So you could, usually you have to fill out some information, and if you're a realtor, they'll give you the lockbox code. So then you could go look at the properties.
Yeah.
Now, that's not every one of them, because some of them are still occupied by a tenant or something, but that's just something to be aware of, that some online auctions you could still go to the property beforehand.
Yep.
But yeah, so I'm sorry, continue.
Yeah, no. So that's why I was trying to make the distinction that these auctions, like the Hubzu and the Zoom, the Zone and auction.com, these are bank-owned properties, all right? So these are actually REOs, and these auctions are held.
Yeah.
All right, so that's why they allow you to go to the property sometimes.
So, Joseph's asking, have you guys done any deals from the MLS? And Julio's asking where can I buy
why don't we do the
We'll do the Q&A a little
yeah,
later. Okay,
yeah, why don't
got
we
it.
just keep going, and then we'll do the Q&A towards the end. All right, that way we don't kind of like
Backtrack.
yeah, keep backtracking. And then so as far as the process in the sheriff sale itself, right, once you do your research, you're kind of happy with what your results are for the following weeks. Basically, you know, the list you put together, right, of the properties you want to bid on, then the actual sheriff's sale itself, first of all, you want to have 20%, I'll say again, 20% of the basically the purchase price, right, available, and it's got to be in cashier's check. So what you want to do, here's a tip for you guys. What you want to do is have basically
several cashiers.
a bunch of cashier's checks. So let's say you're planning on bidding, let's say on a $200,000 property. So that means you got to have $40,000 in cashier's check on hand. So what you're going to do is you're going to go to your bank, right? You're going to buy, let's say, anywhere from 5 to 10 cashier's checks, okay, from your bank. And you're going to write it to yourself or your company. So in case you don't win any auctions, you can redeposit your funds. All right. So,
and the reason why you want to have several cashier's checks is because the way the auction the sheriff's sale auction works is that, let's say you only had one $50,000 check, right? And then you want to bid for a $200,000 home, but you only need 20%, so you only need $40,000. Well, you only have one $50,000 check, so you have to give the $50,000. So realistically, you're giving $10,000 extra than what you need to,
exactly.
Which that's kind of why there's that trick that you want to have maybe a 10,000, a 5,000, well, two 5,000s, and then like several $1,000 cashier checks.
Yeah, like a couple 3s, 2s. You can break it up however you want to do it. So that's kind of what a lot of people do. The real big time bidders actually they actually have an account with the county, and they don't even bring cashier's check. They have like these the big dogs, we call them. So they actually don't even bring checks. They have almost I don't even know what it's called. It's almost like a line of credit, but it's really not. So they have because they win and bid so many
times.
Yeah, so many times. Like they're there every week. These are the guys that are getting 2, 3, 4, 5 properties a week. So usually they're backed by like hedge funds and things like that. So those are the big time players. And they also do their homework. A lot of people think like, oh wow, why are they overpaying for these properties and they're paying so much? But because their game is a little different than ours. When I was doing this, I used to see these guys like way overpaying compared to what I would pay. I'm like, why do you do that on this property? He's gonna lose money. But in actuality, they're doing something at a totally different level than we are. So I'm not even gonna get into that whole thing.
Yeah, Joseph. Yeah, the big dogs sometimes will outbid you for fun if you're a newbie.
Yes. Yeah, that happened a few times to me. We got into the bidding, but for me, I was like, you know what? I'll let them win, because the biggest thing with the auction, you have to realize that you don't do it by emotion, and you do it strictly by numbers, right? So once you do your research, you know what your ARV is, you know how much you want to bid, you stick to that, and you do not go over that. So once you hit your number, even though you think, hey, I'm at, say your maximum bid is gonna be 200,000. Once you hit that number, you stop, okay? And then you let the other guy go. All right. So the best is when you don't win that week, because you didn't overpay. So it's a huge thing, to stay disciplined, right? So you'll get your chance, but you also have to understand what the current market is doing. So before you make any actual purchases, you want to visit a few times, like maybe go for a month straight, go every week, go every other week, and just observe and see what other people are doing, see who's bidding, see who's not bidding, who's actually just watching versus who's actually bidding, because there are a lot of different people in that room. There are people just doing research, There are people there just to get other people's numbers. There are actual bidders there. So there are people that are looking for their own personal home. There are realtors that are bringing in buyers there. So there's a lot of different people in that room. All right. So you just want to be aware of who's who and what they're doing. Right.
Exactly.
Yeah.
No, that kind of brings me to another thing. So after you win the auction and you gave your 20% down, that doesn't mean like, you could relax, you still have to give the other 80% within, what is it, 30 days or something?
Yes, within 30 days, you have to pay the other remaining 80%. So the first, so you cannot pay it off until day 11. All right. So there's what they call a 10-day redemption period, and that means the existing homeowner or the person that got foreclosed on, they can still come in and redeem the property, meaning they can pay off that mortgage and whatever they owe and still get the property. So there's actually a whole nother strategy, which I'm not going to get into, confuse you guys, but in terms of doing redemptions. So on the 11th day, you can come in with the rest of the money, pay it off, and now that property is yours. All right. But here's the other thing that I would recommend is actually to run a title search on the property, especially if you're more of a lower volume bidder. If you're a very high volume bidder, most of these guys don't run title searches. Okay. But if you're a lower volume and you're just starting out, I would definitely go and run a title search. A typical title search, you can get it from like City Standard Data, which is a sister company of Clear Skies. They charge, I think, about $80 per search, something like that, right? And so you can get that from them and just know what you're bidding on. But the most important thing is really just get all your information, like do all your research before you hit the bidding. You go there and bid, right? So because if you don't have all that information, any little thing could trip you up and cost you thousands of dollars. So the sheriff sale is, to me, is a higher level game, right? It's something that you got to have some experience in this. And if you have no experience, I honestly tell you to stay the hell away. So this is not where you want to start your investing career, because you could get burnt very, very easily because you're not going to get a clear title. That's the thing. When you're buying from a bank, you're going to get a clear title. When you buy from an auction, you do not get a clear title. So you have to make sure that title is clean before you bid.
Yeah. Now, I will say one thing. Again, like Joe was saying, you're not guaranteed clean title, but like in the auction, you will also see like, okay, the starting bid will be this much with a water lien of this much, with a like mechanical lien of this much.
Yep.
Like certain liens that they will mention to you. So that's something you have to take into account with your numbers.
Yeah.
Because if you don't, then like that could be tens of thousands of dollars that you didn't, put into it that you'll have to pay. So, going forward so like you have your 20%, you put it down, you have the property, let's say the title is clear. Now, you have to come up with the other 80%. You have 30 days, but technically, Joey, you have a little more than that, don't you?
Yeah, you could always get an extension.
People don't really know that.
Yeah, that's right. So the first property, the reason why I was always interested in the sheriff sales, because guys, the first property I ever bought back in 2008, actually I bought it from a sheriff sale. It was really by accident because I bought an assignment, and I bought it with a conventional mortgage, and it was way over the 30 days because I didn't find out until like 2 weeks into the property, because somebody else had presented to me 2 weeks after he already won the bid. right? So from that time on, I basically closed within 30 days. But from the day he won the auction until my 30 days was actually a month and a half, getting close to 2 months. But back in 2008, they were just handing out mortgages, to anybody, right? I mean, my wife, she actually qualified for it. She had a good job. Um, she had excellent credit, so we were actually able to buy it under her name. So basically what I'm saying is, in the sheriff's sale, you can even purchase with conventional mortgage, which a lot of people do not know. So that's one thing.
Yeah, you
can
could
add.
also purchase through with hard money, depending on the property, of course.
Yeah,
If, because like they will need an appraisal done, so you have to be able to get in. So that's something you definitely want to be aware of.
Yep.
Certain companies, they might allow drive-by appraisals, but I probably wouldn't, bet on those companies just because they might have really conservative numbers when it comes to that.
Yep.
But yeah, so you could actually come with a hard money loan to purchase the sheriff's sale auction property, and most people don't know that.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. So once you do that, basically, you have to wait also an extra 30 days to get the sheriff's deed from the county. All right. So that's basically it. I mean, we could get into much more detail if you guys want to, but we'll save that for another episode. Specifically. So guys, also don't forget to subscribe to our podcast as well, right? This episode is going to end up on the podcast.
yes.
And the podcast, the website is youtube.com/c/newbie REI. That's NEWBIEREI.
Yes.
Right.
And of course, we're on Apple, and we're on Spotify. We're on the Google Play Store, Anchor. So yeah, we're pretty much everywhere. So please, wherever you listen, like, share, subscribe to us. And I guess we could get into the Q&A.
Yeah, let's do that. For some reason, I got to try to fix my Facebook thing. I'm not receiving any comments here. So I'll say what's up to whoever is watching on Facebook on my Facebook Live, and but we'll take some quick questions.
Okay, so Joseph asked, have you guys done any deals from the MLS? Yeah, I mean, my personal home in Belleville actually is a deal from the MLS. The thing is, though, that they're few and far between. You got to find the opportunity because, for example, I bought my home for $130,000 in Belleville. It showed on the MLS one picture, literally the front door. That's it, and the lot size was a 20 by 100 lot. So I was like, wow, this is a tiny home. Like, who would buy this? Well, then I did some research. What I did was, like, I looked up the address and then I Googled it and I was like, wait, there's a lot next door. Who owns that lot? Then I came to find out it's the same owner. That owner owned that property and the lot next to it. So then I called the agent. I was like, hey, are these selling together or is she keeping the lot? And the agent was like, no, she's selling them together. So then that's when a light bulb hit me. I'm like, well, this is basically a 40 by 100 lot with parking for like 8 cars.
Yeah.
And a fairly small home. So then I was like, can I go see it? I went to look at it. Oh, by the way, it was a 2-bed, 2-bath. And the square footage of the home was about 1,100. So I was like, okay, it's small, but maybe I could fit a 3rd bedroom. So then I looked at it and I just saw the vision of how to switch things around. I made basically a master suite on the 1st floor, bathroom and bedroom. And then I made 2 bedrooms upstairs with a full bath. So then now I had a 3-bed, 2-bath home and fully renovated. It appraised for I think 330. So was able to pretty much pull out all my money back and own a property that I live in. So, but yeah, that was an MLS deal. Lately I haven't seen anything on the MLS though, because properties are few and scarce.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, I did one. I could kind of say this was more or less my first fix and flip back in 2017, and that was purchased right off the MLS as well. It was actually an REO property, but it was listed on the MLS. So we paid 162 for it. We ended up getting 5,000 off that price from the inspection.
mhm.
Because there was a lot of things wrong with it, but the bank was willing to negotiate. We put about $65,000 into the rehab, and basically from that, sorry, somebody's trying to call me. Um, so from that, we ended up selling the house for I think roughly around also around $340,000. And that same house right now today is probably worth 380 to 400,000 easily.
Yeah.
You know?
Appreciation, man.
Yeah.
But yeah, just to say the least, yeah, I have bought a few properties from the MLS, just not lately. Let's see. Where can you buy online? That's a great question, Julio. You could buy on hubzoo.com, zone.com, that's XOME.com. You could buy from what else? Hubzoo, Zoom, auction.com, yeah, of course. And then I know you mentioned Williams and something.
Yeah, Williams and Williams, but I don't think they really have any kind of listings or anything like that in New Jersey.
Yeah, they really don't.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, those are some areas, some places you could look online to find homes at auction. So.
Yeah, I mean, basically everything's done online these days. You know.
Joseph, that's funny. You went to an auction.com vacant property and found squatters inside. Well, I mean, it's vacant, technically. These are just squatters.
Yeah.
Joseph asked, can you back out last minute if there's liens on the property you weren't aware of without losing your deposit?
So technically you can't really back out. So basically once you bid on the property, you put your 20% deposit that same day. You really can't back out. So that's why I was saying you need to really do your research up front before you even come to bid. We have what we call, you can vacate the property, meaning you vacate your bid. And basically you need to get an attorney involved in this, because it's happened to me. I had to vacate 2 properties because, again, I didn't follow what I said, but that's because, you know, I was new to the whole process and I didn't know, right? Like what I know today. So one of the property basically, it was actually a very good property. It was a 2-family in East Orange, and it had a hole in the roof from a fire, right? And so this property, we actually won the auction at 72,000. All right, you guys will fly off. This thing today, basically, I still have people asking me about it today because it's on a website that never updated. And so I had somebody last night actually send me an email. He's like, "Is this property still available?" And I just kind of laughed. I was like, "Wow, this thing was like 2 years ago, and no, it's not available, right?" So basically, we purchased it at 72,000. Okay, and I thought, wow, this is very, very cheap. Okay, at $72,000. In today's standard is you don't
Super
see that. You don't see that. Okay, the only way to get it even cheaper than that is if you get a tax lien auction and you're foreclosed. That's the only way you're gonna get it any cheaper.
Yeah.
Or somehow you coerce the homeowner and selling it to you that cheap. But anyhow, with the story, so we listed it. We sent it out on an email blast. We even, like I said, we even listed it with a realtor, hoping to get our price, and we were listing it around, I believe, around 120. All the way towards the end, this is like maybe 2-3 months in, after we had already, purchased, basically won the auction, but we didn't pay it. In hindsight, we should have just paid it off. Like we could have, because we already put the 20% down. We should have just put the other 80, because we had the money. That was the thing. But because that was not really our business model, we didn't do that, and we kind of just kept like trying to extend it to find a buyer, right? And so we couldn't find a buyer for the life of us for whatever reason, right? We went through like literally we had it under contract like 3-4 different buyers, but these guys were just other wholesalers, and they kept trying to find buyers and they couldn't. So we never were able to lock it up with somebody. And so in the end, we basically, the bank said, hey, listen, you've had around like 4 months already, and we're gonna take the property back. Yeah. Yeah. So we're at one of my job sites. So my painter just came by. Anyway.
So I guess, yeah, to answer that question, it depends.
Yeah, so you don't want to go through this process. So basically, in the end, shoot, keep getting calls. Sorry. So basically, in the end, what we did is we had to vacate the property. All right. So vacating the property, again, you got to get an attorney and help you with this. And basically, we knew the what they call the undersheriff. So the undersheriff actually helped us as well. And basically, we ended up getting most of our deposit back on this. I would say 15% instead of 20, but it's still better than 0, right? But the funds got held up for about a year, and we weren't able to see it. So the whole thing was that the new buyer. So what they did was they put it back on the auction.
Months later.
Yeah, a year later, an entire year later. And they re-auctioned the property. Somebody won it. They won it at $130,000 a year later. And we were like kicking ourselves, like, what the hell? Oh my God, people keep trying to call me.
You're a popular guy.
Yeah. So, so we like I said, we did get our money back. And the new buyer basically has the property now. So. That's the story with that.
Hindsight is 2020.
Yeah.
Let's see.
All right, we'll do like one or two more questions.
Okay, so David wrote, wow. Okay, Bruce asked, how do you perform thorough due diligence to uncover liens, tax delinquencies, and other hidden sheriff sale auctions? So I mean, like we were saying before, that's when you run title. Title will kind of tell you what's up with the property. It'll tell you if there was this massive second mortgage that wasn't paid off, or like anything like that, or maybe even a third.
Yeah, it's crazy. Like you see people that have like warrants, bonds from warrants from out of state, water bills, all kinds of crazy stuff, man. You don't know. People are nuts.
Yeah, exactly. So I hope that answers that question, Bruce. Let's see. What if it has liens? We kind of answered that. If the home is occupied and you're not able to see it inside, how do you account for rehab costs? Kind of answered that question, but the big thing.
Yeah, let me give you a different version of that. Basically, if you're bidding on I would guess a nicer property, and you want that property, right? What I would do is actually, I would do a drive-by, right? Come and visit the property itself, ring the doorbell, and just kind of introduce yourself. Jonathan actually already sort of
I did that once.
Yeah.
So
done that?
it was a property through Zoom. It was a wholesaler that was wholesaling it to me. I just rang the door. It was in Montclair. I rang the doorbell. I said, "Hey, my name's Jonathan. Like this might be a little awkward, but like I won the auction bid through Zoom. I see you guys still living in the home. I just want to make this as easy and smooth of a transition as possible. Is there any way that I could see the property?" She said no at the time, but regardless, at least when she opened the door, I was able to see the kitchen. I was able to see part of the living room. So I got a little bit of an idea of how much the reno would be. Because if the kitchen's one way, then most likely the bedrooms are the same way, roughly.
Yeah, you get a good idea of the condition of the house. Like, are these people like clean people? Or are these like hoarders, like they have stuff all over the place, or is the house just completely beat up? So you kind of like have an idea once they open that door. So it's pretty easy to see, right? The rest of the house.
Yeah.
You don't physically need to go and see the rest of the house, basically.
Yeah.
Like you'll get an idea.
Yeah. Again, you got to always think worst case scenario, because if like you go in there and like, oh, I didn't know it did, like if you go in there and you realize that there's less work than you expected, then that's just added profit. But if you go in there and it's more work, then it's less profit.
Right.
So
Yeah.
I guess I hope that answers that question. There's no real like specifics to that one. And I think that's the last question, really.
Yeah. So Naomi, no, they have not opened up the sheriff sales yet. People are still not getting evicted. So I don't think it's gonna happen this year in 2020, because Trump, as you know, just put a moratorium on evictions. So it don't look like any sheriff sales are gonna happen this year.
Yeah, probably sometime early to mid next year would be the scenario to go to the sheriff sale auctions.
Yep.
But I mean, I as messed up as it sounds to say, on the bright side is when that does happen, there will probably be a lot of them, unfortunately.
Yeah, it's gonna be
like I don't wish it on anyone, but statistically speaking. Go ahead, sorry.
Yeah, no, I was gonna say it's gonna be like open the floodgates. There's gonna be so many properties, and also there's gonna be so many buyers too, right? So you want to prepare and start looking up the lists, do some research on what's gonna be available coming up. So you're gonna have 4 or 5 months to be able to do this research.
Yeah.
Right. Because most people are not going to be able to catch up. So what I would do instead is look up the list and try to contact those people and try to buy it or make a deal with the seller before it hits the auction.
Yeah, exactly. Because a lot of these people, like they don't really have solutions right now. But if you're able to get in front of them and say like, hey, I'm here to help, they might tell you to get lost right now, but a couple months from now when, shit hits the fan, oh, hey, Jonathan, like, I know you were very respectful to me. I saved your card. I saved your number, whatever. Let's do what you wanted to do,
Yep.
So,
yeah.
I guess with that, if there's no more questions, let me just double check. Oh. Okay, yeah, there's no more questions. So yeah, if there's no more questions, I guess, we'll finish this up. Again, remember to like, share, subscribe to the podcast. Newbie REI. We just set up a Facebook group. So if you want to be part of that, we'll be posting a lot of the podcast episodes there as well.
Yeah.
We'll be answering questions. If you have deals, feel free to post them there as well. There's no stupid questions, so.
Only the ones I asked.
Yeah. If you have a stupid question, then yeah, I don't know what to say. But anyways, so take care, guys. Have a great day.
See you later, guys.